Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to conduct a webinar on web wins with Chrome Lighthouse, and our today's host will be Siddharth Somen. So let's get deep insights about Chrome Lighthouse, and I hand it over to you, Siddharth, to proceed us.
Yeah, so hi all. Let me know if I'm audible. Maybe I'm audible, right?
Yeah, you're audible.
So today's session is going to be on Google Lighthouse actually. So I think today's session will be kind of interesting for the backend guys. I was working in backend for pretty much the entire time I started working with Valuebound, and only recently I got into the more front end stuff. And this Lighthouse tool kind of went under my radar because of that. And recently I realized like how useful it is in monitoring a website actually. So today we'll just be kind of going over a briefing over it, and it won't be too long, maybe like half an hour. And I'll leave the stage open for questions later. So getting into the introduction. So Lighthouse basically was developed by Google. And what it does is that it tracks your website with the help of different metrics. And we'll be getting into those metrics later. But it's incredibly useful if you want to improve the quality and the performance of your web pages individually. It doesn't analyze your website as a whole, but it does analyze individual web pages. And by analyzing individual web pages, you get a more clear picture about what exactly you need to improve in each page to improve your overall website. So how did Lighthouse actually come into being? In 2011, basically, Lighthouse's roots began as this tool, Page Speed Insights. And what it did at that time was that it only offered suggestions to improve your website's performance. Um, Basically, as time went on and tech. Mavi, did you have something to say? Yeah, so as time went on and we went past 2011 and we entered 2016, 2015, a lot of different apps or a lot of different websites that were earlier there before became progressive web apps. And they utilized responsiveness for mobiles and a different number of optimization tricks. So it became apparent to Google that they needed to develop their tool so that they could include different metrics such as best practices, accessibility, SEO, and not just performance. And through that was where Lighthouse was born. So there's four main aspects of Lighthouse today: performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO. It tracks your web pages on the basis of how well you do on these different metrics. So we'll start with performance. So there's two main things in performance, and we'll be getting into this with a demo later. It basically tracks your website loading speed. So that's the time from when you refresh the page to where it becomes fully responsive, meaning the buttons can be clicked and forms can be submitted. Basically, the time taken so that it becomes interactive. Then there's responsiveness. So how your website looks on different viewports on mobile or 4K screens or tablets. Then there's accessibility, which basically means how well your website can make sense to people with disabilities, right? So people who are, for example, blind, or people who lack the ability to use a mouse or a keyboard and have to communicate by voice. All these different things that come under accessibility. And there's actually a standard kind of protocol or some standard policies that are put into place. It's called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So what Lighthouse does is that it tracks whether your website is following the policies according to these guidelines. Then there's best practices to do with your code itself. So essentially, like whether you're using some outdated HTML tags or whether your font is not readable, or whether some images are too large and are not responsive. So it basically checks the best practices of your code as well. Then finally, there's SEO, which is search engine optimization. So it basically tracks how well your website is doing when it comes to how visible it is in the search engines. It takes into account stuff like meta tags, um, how well you're using your keywords of your brand, and like the heading structure basically means how you structure your H1s and H2s inside your HTML so that it's easily able to be picked up by the search engines. So those are the four main metrics. And now I'll just get into a quick demo of how exactly we use the Lighthouse tool. So this is GitHub's landing page right here. And here you can see it's quite a complex UI. And because of this, I know that they kind of suffer a bit in the performance side of things. Okay. So what you have to do to run the Lighthouse report is that you can simply inspect element. You'll be able to see Lighthouse under this option here. When you open inspect element first, you will be able to see the elements, but you can choose Lighthouse. And over here, it gives you some options. You can analyze the web page for the mobile performance or the desktop performance. In this case, we'll choose desktop. You can check the categories that you want the web page to be analyzed in. So, like as I discussed before here, you can see performance, accessibility, best practices, SEO. Progressive web app basically means taking into account all of these. But for now, for this demo, we'll just do performance and best practices. So I have already ran the report because it takes some time and I have it loaded here. So here you can see that it basically measures the metrics that you've checked on a scale of 0 to 100. So over here you can see if your score is within 90 to 100, it means that your website's in a good spot or your web page is in a good spot. 50 to 89 means that things can be improved. And 0 to 49 means that it's borderline unusable. Like there's a lot of serious issues that you need to take into account. For GitHub, the performance is 82 as of right now, and the best practices is 93. And that's the good thing about Lighthouse actually is that you can analyze any web page on the internet, whether it's like your own personal project or whether it's a big site like GitHub. So if you go down a bit over here, here is just analyzing the performance. If you hover over it, it breaks down the performance into these five different metrics. So FCP stands for first contentful paint, which I'll explain. LCP is largest contentful paint. TBT is total blocking time. SI is speed index, and CLS is cumulative layout shift over here. So it basically highlights which different metrics you're kind of suffering in. So in our case, you can see FCP, LCP, and TBT is orange, while speed index and CLS is green, meaning good. So if I go down over here, so basically it shows the different statistics for these metrics. And if you expand the view, it'll explain to you a bit about what each metric actually stands for. And you can learn more about them by these links. First, contentful paint basically means the first element that is visible on your page as soon as you hit reload, right? So if you look over here, yeah, marks the time at which the first text or image is painted. So if you think about it from a UI UX kind of standpoint, whenever you refresh the page, you don't want the user to just be staring at a blank screen, right? You want there to be at least some content so that the user doesn't click away immediately. That's basically what first contentful paint measures. It's the time taken to display the first element or display the first kind of box or warning that shows up on your web page as soon as you refresh. In GitHub's case, it took 1.1 seconds. Then there's largest contentful paint. So this is the largest element in your HTML, basically, how long it takes to paint the largest element in your HTML. In this case, it's 1.6 seconds. And if you go down, actually, it will show you what the largest contentful element is. Here you can see it breaks it down further into 1650 milliseconds. And it actually shows you the exact image that uh, that is taking so long to be painted. In this case, you can click it and it will take you to the individual element in the HTML. So here you can see, I believe this is a WebP image, which is pretty large. Its intrinsic size is 2379 into 1630 pixels. So here you can see like which element is taking the longest for you for the web page to paint. Then the total blocking time. So basically, it sums up all the time periods from when the first element is painted until this time to interactive kind of metric. So what time to interactive basically means is that as soon as you reload, how much time it takes for the web page to become fully interactive. So fully interactive is a state in which you're able to click buttons, in which you're able to submit forms. So the time taken from this first contentful paint until the website becomes fully functional. So that's 240 milliseconds according to Lighthouse. Then cumulative layout shift basically means that like as you adjust the viewports, how quickly the element takes time to adjust to the new screen size, right? And speed index. So this is a kind of interesting thing. What Lighthouse does as soon as you start the audit meaning the report, as soon as you start the audit, it refreshes the page and it takes different kind of screenshots from the time you refresh till the time the web page is built. So like I've done a Lighthouse for one of my own websites that we're working on here. It's not fully optimized yet, but here you can see in the stream app, these are the different frames, like the different time periods at which the website starts. So here you can see it's blank when you first reload, and when it starts, you can see that it paints this, but it doesn't put the background image yet in these later frames. So that's basically what speed index does. It kind of makes a video of your page reloading and it divides it into different frames so that you can see it kind of load in real time. Here you can see the background image came like 4 frames later because it takes time to load background images, right? So that's basically what speed index is, how quickly the contents of a page are populated. And if you go down a little bit over here, you can see the tree map. And if I open this, what it does is that it basically shows all the scripts with like proportional to the amount of time it takes. So if you look over here, like the bigger the rectangle, the bigger chunk it takes of the processing speed. So in this case, GitHub is using a lot of node modules to show this complex UI. So that's why it takes 18% of like the processing time. Here you can see there's another node modules kind of directory. This is some backend scripts that are running. So you can basically see what scripts are taking the largest amount of time in your web page for it to load. And based on that, you can optimize, or based on that, you can reduce like whatever redundant code you have or similar, right? So that's the tree map. And if you go down a little more, so what Lighthouse basically does is that it gives you suggestions or optimizations based on whatever you're lacking up here, right? So over here, it's informing us that GitHub has an excessive DOM size. So basically, it means that like it's showing the total DOM elements, so 1,219 DOM elements, and it shows you like the most nested element that you have. So in this case, for GitHub, it's this form control div. If I open it, it actually takes us to the HTML, and we can open it and we can see like how many different child nodes are there inside this element, right? A lot of different like template nodes in this one. So based on that, we can kind of divide the divs and maybe we can optimize the structure. Then, as I said before, this is the largest contentful paint element that it shows us. You can optimize this by lazy loading. There's a lot of different optimization techniques, and it actually shows you how to optimize it. If you click this link over here, it will take you to like the developer Chrome web page, and It'll like give you different techniques to improve your LCP score or like any score on the Lighthouse report. Then there's some unused JavaScript in this web page that it shows us. And I might as well show you the tree map again. If you click unused bytes over here, it actually shows you the percentage of your scripts that are unused. So like as of right now, it will show that this kind of this stripe design shows us the percentage of the script that is unused. Obviously, on page load, a lot of the scripts will be unused because the functionality only starts when you click different elements, right? Only when you click a button or when you submit a form will a lot of these scripts be used. So this is to be expected, these many unused scripts. But if your unused scripts is hitting 99% or 98% or something like that, then it says that you have a lot of redundancy in your code. And it would be best to kind of refactor them or or put them into different kind of directories so that it can run by itself. You don't want a lot of unused code on your website, basically. Right. So unused JavaScript. Then it's showing us to properly size some images over here. I think this is to do with responsiveness. Then there's some unused CSS that we can get rid of in this web page. So these are the red ones. So basically the urgent steps you need to take as of right now. Then orange ones are basically steps that you can take later. They're not as high in priority. So there's some text compression that some people use in web pages, where basically you make the browser decompress it after compressing it in the code, and it can save some, I think, space or some time to render when you open the website. Then it's showing some best practices stuff here. It's saying that you need to explicitly declare width and height. I think this helps in responsiveness. Then it will also show whether you're showing using some outdated or old kind of JavaScript functions. I think document.write, which is a really old JavaScript function. I think that takes like 100 milliseconds more for it to render in the web page, rather than using element dot inner text or whatever like modern solution that is to displaying text inside the web page. So it will show you like whether you're using any unnecessary like old JavaScript, which is not as performant as compared to new stuff. So that's basically it for performance. Here it just shows some not really important steps. If you want to take them, you can. But the red ones are the ones that you should take immediately, and orange ones are the ones that are kind of lower in priority, but you should take as well. Then it also shows you the stuff that you've done right. So in GitHub's case, they have minified the CSS. They're using HTTP2. They're using video formats for animated content. So these are the audits that they passed. Then GitHub does well in best practices. It scored a 93. There is, I think, one thing that we can improve. Yeah, so this Hero mobile WebP image, I think it's displaying with an incorrect aspect ratio compared to the image itself. So that's one thing that can be improved for the user experience. Then I think yeah, so this one is coming from my own Chrome. I think it's some inspection. I think it's some plugin error or Chrome extension error. But basically, if you're console logging some errors in your front end while testing and you forget to remove them when you deploy your site, that's not a good thing. And it does show up on Lighthouse if you're using some unnecessary console logs, if you're debugging or something like that. Then these are the past audits for best practices. So this is the stuff that they are doing well. And this is not applicable. So there's some metrics that Lighthouse checks, which may not be applicable to the current site, right? So in this case, it's checking font display optional, but I think the fonts are preloaded. So in this case, it doesn't really matter. That's why it shows as not applicable. Then there's just some kind of diagnostics that they've given here, uh, based on the based on the machine we're running the Lighthouse report in. And also keep in mind that the Lighthouse report can change. So it does depend kind of also on how slow your computer is or how fast your computer is, or whether you have a lot of tabs open or something like that. So you should always try and run Lighthouse on the best machine available to you, and then it will give you the proper statistics or the proper report. So that's pretty much it for the demo. And that's pretty much it right now for the webinar itself. So we looked at the history of Lighthouse and how it evolved from 2011 and how it was developed in Google. We looked at the four main metrics of Lighthouse, which is performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO. And we also looked at a little demo of the GitHub landing page, and we saw the stuff that they were doing right and where they could be improved in terms of performance. So that's it for now. Um, are there any questions? Any questions?
No, no question.
No questions. That was very useful session, Siddharth. I just want to add one point. So
Mhm.
you have given very much, quality information. So I've just learned the new one that is about lighthouse tree map. So that was very
Mm.
good point. And I just wanted to add this lighthouse score will impact on the internet speed as well.
I forgot to mention that. So, like as I said before, it does depend on your machine a little bit, whether your computer is fast or slow, and you should make sure that the Wi-Fi or your internet speed is good as well, because then it will take time to load the web page and all, obviously, right? So, yeah, you need to make sure like your computer is relatively good and your Wi-Fi is relatively fast.
Yep. Thank you very much. It was really good session.
Thank you. Anyone else? So, like, did you guys hear of Lighthouse before, or have you used it extensively? Or because it was like kind of my first time using it recently. So,
I have a question.
yeah, yeah, really.
So, on every reload of the page,
Mm-hmm.
so generally the performance will differ, just like you told based on some internet or other factors.
Yeah.
So, means, just on a count, so if we refresh the page for 5 times and see the
Mm.
lighthouse, so based on that, that means if we take that average, so with that count, so
Yeah.
the
So,
performance.
yeah. So the thing is, even if you have kind of a not strong internet, or if your computer is a little bit slow, you can still get a good judge of your Lighthouse reports by refreshing 5 times and looking at the average, because it won't differ that much if your computer, if your computer speed and your Wi-Fi speed is set, right? Even if it is slow, if you refresh the page and you get the Lighthouse report 5 times, you can still get the average kind of idea from it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else, Ahmed, to say something?
No, no, I didn't say. It was a great session by the Siddharth. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that is it. If anyone wants to contact me, you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you have any further questions related to Lighthouse, I'll be happy to answer that.
This is Antarish. I have a question
Yeah.
regarding that lighthouse. That was a great session actually. And how do we convert the images to WebP format, or do you have to upload
Yeah,
them earlier?
yeah. So Lighthouse does this thing. So I actually ran Lighthouse for one of my personal projects on my work projects. We were using a lot of PNG images. We were using a lot of JPEG images, like for background and stuff. So Lighthouse did throw a warning saying that WebP images are the best format because I think it can be rendered in the browser really quickly or something like that. So I mean, it's not that important. It doesn't give a lot of saving time. But yeah, Lighthouse does throw that warning if you're using a lot of PNG images. It will say that WebP images are the best format. Regarding conversion from PNG to WebP, I'm not like that sure. I think there are some online tools.
Okay, so we have to upload them beforehand only, before, or there is any conversion happening in the backend.
Basically, what you need to do, Antariksh, over here is that there are online tools on which you can upload the PNG and it will convert for you to WebP, and then you can use that converted images into your web.
Or you can ask your UI UX designer to give you the assets directly in WebP format.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Or else, if we are using a Drupal website, we have a Drupal module called WebP module. So that also helps to convert these images.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for now. If anyone wants to get in contact with me, like I said again, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me Siddharth Soman, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yes. So as everyone mentioned, it was a great session, Siddharth. So we are going to conduct more sessions on different topics. So see you soon, everyone. Bye.